first you have to fall in love with yourself, I think, before you can have some other person, you know. If you're feeling like lousy about yourself, you got to really, start loving yourself more. And also know that a lot of this stuff that's going on in your head isn't true. We have all kinds of thoughts, but they're all like, there's positive ones, there's negative ones, there's conflicting ones. Which one are you going to listen to? Lighten up and start enjoying yourself. So whatever you do, like, find how you can enjoy that the most. What can I do to make that more fun?
In today's busy world, how can we find the inspiration, knowledge, and energy to live a healthy and empowered life? If we balance and harmonize our mind, exercise our body, live according to the laws of nature, and connect to spirit, can we find a way to heal, become our authentic self, and live our purpose with love? I am your hostess, Amy Fournier, and welcome back to Awakening Aphrodite. Hey, welcome back to Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. Today's episode comes with a warning because we have adult content coming up. It's not like we're going to be swearing and all that stuff, but we are talking about sexuality and sensuality, and we definitely have adult content. So I'm giving you a warning if you have little ones around, or you're in a public place and this is on speakers blasting across the country or whatever. You might want to put on your earbuds or wait to listen to it when you're in a situation where you don't mind who hears the content. Okay, so there you go. And let's get right into it because you definitely don't want to miss it. This episode is with Steve Bodansky. Steve, together with his wife Vera, they've both been teaching sensuality for the past 35, almost 40 years. Steve received his master's in molecular genetics at SUNY at Albany and a doctorate at Moore University in sensuality, with an emphasis on female orgasm. That's right, you heard that right. I don't know why I didn't know about this, but apparently you can get your doctorate in sensuality and you can focus on female orgasm. How amazing. We have the expert on the show today, folks. Steve first studied and then taught at Moore University through 1992. And for the past 30 years, almost 40 years, they have both been coaching students to expand their orgasmic potential and to improve their relationships, because of course they go together. A number of their former students have become sensuality facilitators, actually, because, wow, they really know what they're doing. And Steve has written numerous books about optimizing sensual pleasure, including his two bestsellers, Extended Massive Orgasm, which I have, and The Illustrated Guide to Extended Massive Orgasm, which I also have. I have both of those books. They're phenomenal. We will give how to contact Steve at the end of the show, and you will see it in the show notes so you can find out more on how to educate yourself. But guess what? In this episode, we get into it. Let me tell you, he's a sensuality expert, so I just had so many questions, particularly like, what's up with the multiple female orgasm thing? They say that they can help people learn how to have 3-hour orgasms, okay? Oh my gosh, I just couldn't even believe that. But yep, apparently they do it. And Steve talks about what it's like caring for Vera, who now has Alzheimer's and dementia, and it's really quite sweet. It's actually brought them closer, so that's quite inspiring if anyone is dealing with that issue in their lives. And we talk about basically sex 101. Like, where do we start, Steve? You're the expert. Help us out, okay? And it's interesting because, of course, we talk about body love and self-love. There's no way we can separate those when we're talking about our sensuality and being comfortable in the bedroom. Surprisingly, Steve also talks about the realities of having simultaneous orgasms and basically how to take control of the orgasmic experience, both for yourself and for your partner. And Steve shares with us the only organ in either human body, meaning male or female, that is designated for pleasure. Ooh, yes, there's only one, and guess what gender has it? Probably not the one you were thinking. And Steve helps us to learn how to get over our insecurities with our partner, like, those awful self-judgments you probably have when you're being intimate with someone, like how your body looks or how your body smells or what the other person's thinking and all that stuff. But Steve helps us get over that so we can experience more pleasure and intimacy. And then I asked Steve, how important is chemistry in relationship, particularly when you're trying to really feel pleasure and get into it? And his answer might surprise you. And lastly, Steve shares with us some of his tips to be more skillful and how skill can be more important than chemistry when it comes to the bedroom. Fascinating. So strap on your seatbelts for this one. And like I said, make sure there's no little ones around, because we are talking sensuality and sexuality with Steve Bodansky. Steve, welcome to Awakening Aphrodite.
Oh, you are so welcome for having me.
Steve, please, our audience heard a little bit about your intro already on who you are and a little bit of your background, but can you tell us in your own words who you are, what your expertise is, a little bit about your life's work and your journey?
Wow. I can tell you where I am now. How I got into it was like a long time ago, and I kind of stumbled into it. But I become like a expert in the field of giving women orgasmic pleasure. And I didn't deliberately go into the field. Like what was like when I was a kid, they asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I didn't say a clitorologist or something like that. But anyhow, so I've been doing this for 40 years. I've been married. We just had our 38th anniversary, and I've been teaching with my wife for almost as long as we've been married. So I've been doing this a long time. And I started writing books about over 20 years ago, and there's a dozen books published now. All kinds. There's novels, actually I start with nonfiction books, poetry books, mostly about sex and love.
And what I love about this is, you give a whole new definition to the word coach, because you are a sensuality expert. Wow. I mean, someone could hire you to help them feel more sensual, more sexual, be more embodied in their body, more in touch with their body, how to feel more pleasure in their lives. I mean, there's so many ramifications for that. And tell us, is there a reason why you have focused more on the female orgasm, the female pleasure route rather than the male?
Well, I like women. I love pussy. And it brings me more joy. It gives me joy, and it's also more legal.
True. Okay, true. So tell us a little bit about your love story with Vera. So Vera is not only your wife, you said, of 38 years, but your teaching partner. Tell us a little bit I love what you said in one of your books. By the way, if you didn't hear in the intro, Steve has like 13 or 14 books and counting. He's just very prolific author. Tell us about how you met her, the first thing you said to her, and your relationship with your wife.
Well, I was living in a commune in California, Northern California, and she was taking courses there. She actually was there before me, taking a lot of courses, but she was married and with kids and living in the suburbs, but she could come out to this place and take classes. So anyhow, there's a place called the Hill Road, which is there's a dirt road going around this property covered with carpets. And they had only golf carts were allowed on this road. Anyhow, she was walking and I was walking in the opposite direction. And she was with some woman that lived there, a friend of mine. And I stopped and said, hello, my name is Steve, and I know what the first thing I said was like, I'd love to do you sometime, which is give her pleasure, give her an orgasm.
The best.
And she didn't say yes or no, but she didn't say no.
She didn't say no. That's hysterical. Well, I've heard a lot of lines in my life, but I will admit I have not heard that one. But obviously it works, Steve. So high fives to you, buddy. That's amazing.
She was taking classes in that area. So it wasn't like, it
Yeah.
wasn't like I said that. I don't use that as an opening line usually,
Yes, yeah. I'm glad you gave it some context. It wasn't like you just said that to some woman in CVS line for checkout or something. That's very important. And I would love to tap a little more into that if it's not too personal about your relationship, because wow, I mean, you guys, not only is she your wife, but she's your teaching partner. And for the audience who's not familiar with you, as they're going to get to learn, a lot of you are teaching people in sensuality, in the sexuality of their anatomy and their body, and how to achieve not only orgasms, but multiple orgasms lasting for 3 hours.
Yeah, we don't really call them multiple because they're kind of continuous.
Okay.
And the 3 hours is something you don't do like regularly.
Okay.
20 minutes is like a long orgasm. It's a good orgasm amount,
Well, and not to get ahead, but I love how one of the things that you teach people is that you can be orgasmic in different areas of your body. I mean, all of us think of the sexual organs as the vehicle to reach orgasm, but I just find that fascinating that, and I don't want to get too much ahead, but, we're going to talk about the power of the mind and then, of course, the body-mind connection. But, I mean, I think I was reading that you can have an orgasm from your knee, from pleasure in your ear, from your neck.
I don't think, especially with women, for guys, it's not quite the same. But women can really, if they have really trained their bodies and train their mind, they can just have the thought, the orgasmic thought, and they can start having pleasure. I also want to say that we taught together for a long time, but about 10 years ago, she started to have dementia or Alzheimer's. And so it's been progressively going on. So right now, she's not really, she's at the point where she doesn't really want to be touched on her pussy. But she'll still have an orgasm when I hug her or something. She can feel, but she's not, I don't know if she's doing it deliberately or not, because her communication level is quite strange. So so that's another thing. I've learned so much about love from her having this condition, and it's made me love her more than I did even before. So she's more, she needs me now. I take care of her like totally. And she's still very appreciative and acknowledges and loving and kind. So it's changed as far as like our daily routines.
Yeah. Well, to go a little deeper for us to understand what you mean by it's making you or let you love her more, and because she's more of who she needs to be. What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't know if she's more who she needs to be, but she is who she is. And she needs me to help her do things, to feed her, to cook for her, to help her clean up and stuff. So it's like a lot of attention on her. So, and I think I've gotten to be a better person. I'm still not the most patient person, but I'm a lot more patient than I used to be. I think that's a good thing. And I don't know, she brings out she's like my muse. I just want to write love poems to her and love stories for her. It's like it's just it's amazing. I mean, I think having our background in in pleasure and finding pleasure in whatever you do, it's enabled us to get the best out of the situation, which I think is what pleasure is. Each situation is going to be unique and different, and whatever comes up, you have to accept it and get an agreement with it, and make it the most pleasurable way you can.
Well, I love that. And I love that, in all your books, it's very apparent, Steve, that you are very, you have a spirituality about you, a certain philosophy about you that's very admirable. And you quote Eckhart Tolle a lot in your books. And, I think that gives a whole nother layer of dimension to your work, which is beautiful. And in one of your best-selling books, the Extended Massive Orgasm book, which is here for those people viewing on YouTube. This thing is a classic. It'll be in the show notes, but you actually say in this book, Extended Massive Orgasm, you say society teaches us that pain and pleasure are opposites. Pain is supposed to repel and pleasure is supposed to attract. Yet pain and pleasure share one quality. They command all of your attention. When you're in pain, you can think of nothing else. Sometimes the only way to stop noticing the pain you feel is to start feeling a new, stronger pain somewhere else. If you want to stop feeling your bad back, smash your thumb with a hammer. When you experience great pleasure as an orgasm, you are totally absorbed and you forget all the troubles and problems. It is difficult to go for pleasure when you hurt and feel awful, but if you can, the pain will miraculously disappear, at least during the course of your pleasure. Pain and pleasure both have the ability to distract you from whatever else you're doing in your life.
Yeah, I've also been reading a lot lately. Not a lot, because he only wrote a couple of books, but Michael Singer's book, The Untethered Soul, and I really like that. Yeah,
great book. But I just love this association that you make with pain and pleasure, because I grew up in New England, which has a very strong Puritan work ethic, and pain is admirable. It was the stoic, admirable thing to do. That was acceptable. Workaholism was acceptable and even admired as, an acceptable addiction, an acceptable imbalance. And pleasure was, and then I also grew up Catholic, so pleasure was pretty much all those feelings you had to suppress and fight and resist, all the animalistic urges. So, and this isn't a value judgment about religion or people or beliefs or anything, and I like to be respectful of everybody's beliefs, and I believe in ultimately the sovereignty of all of us to be free to believe and speak whatever we want. However, it was, for me personally, that led to a lot of confusion, a lot of shame in my body, a lot of dysfunction in the way I functioned in relationships, because I was always split, feeling guilty when I felt pleasure, and pain was almost like a badge of honor. And I know a lot of women, probably a lot of men as well, feel that way. So can you educate us, Steve, in all of your experience, what you would say to someone like me who grew up like that and is trying to reform my mindset to allow pleasure without feeling judgment or shameful or guilty, and instead of pain?
Well, we live in a pain-oriented society. I mean, the sign of this, like Christianity, is Christ on the cross. I mean, Christ did a lot of wonderful, beautiful things, but what we mostly remember about is him on the cross, being nailed to a cross. And everything we see on TV is always have the news is only about the bad news. And once in a while they have a happy thing in the last minute of the show. They might have a happy thing happening. Otherwise, the rest of the show is all like the worst thing that happened that day to, go over the world to find the worst thing. Usually it's in America. But as far as I think, we're smart enough as, humans, we can decide to have more than one viewpoint and to know that we were brought up with this viewpoint, but there's other viewpoints out there. And we used to say, like, you're not your viewpoint, you're just a viewpoint holder. So you can have different viewpoint about things and do different, have different goals and and start enjoying yourself more. You don't have to wait for any permission. You can, it's your choice. So even if I know a lot of people who were brought up like you were who changed, and a lot of people haven't. So I think it's a personal decision to make, and once made, it's not difficult to follow through on. If you want to learn about pleasure, it's about like learning any activity. You have to become educated and become confident and be curious and explore. So
yes,
and it's a great, we used to say also that, like, if some things weren't taboo, then it would take some of the eroticism out of life too. If everything was open, the nudist colony, then the naked body wouldn't be so
taboo,
sexy, but like, they used to like have in the Victorian times, to show an ankle was like outrageous or something.
mm-hmm.
So it's always to play with your conditioning, and we're not our conditioning either.
Right. I love it. So let's just step back for a moment, and if you could maybe just give us a real rudimentary education, like a sex ed 101, Steve, for those of us who didn't go to your school of sensuality and take all your online courses and in-person demonstrations. I mean, guys, they have in-person demonstrations of live orgasms with women and stuff, and he demonstrates technique, and it's really trippy. I mean, it's certainly not your evening news. But
Have you seen our video?
I sure did. I sure did. Yeah. And wow, it's inspirational. Let me just say, inspirational is the word. But can you give us perhaps just a little, from your 30 years and counting, almost 40 years of experience, like a little sex ed 101, like what if you could encapsulate those almost 40 years of dealing with adults that have basically no knowledge of their anatomy, how their body works, how it could work. Could you just encapsulate for us, okay, this is really where you need to start. This is what you need to know to start learning who you are, and what you're capable of.
Okay. Well, first of all, or second of all, if I was going to teach somebody, I think a good place to start would be having them learn how to self-pleasure. And to do that, they have to create like the space and the time for it, even if they're with a partner. And then there's specific techniques that we do now. It's a lot of people say, well, I really don't like doing it, or but a lot of women, they haven't really had a whole lot of success doing it. They'll do it with a vibrator, and to learn your body, explore your body, become really curious about well, there's a whole bunch of exercises that we give in our books, but like, setting up your space so it looks nicer, have something for each one of your sensual, your touch and taste and smell, and then have a full-length mirror and look at your body and look at yourself with the eyes, positive eyes, instead of like, usually when we look in the mirror, we look for things that are wrong, like our hair is out of place, we have a pimple here, or this is wrong, or, but look for things you like about yourself. And the more you start doing that, the more you'll start liking yourself. No matter what you look like, you have to get in agreement with the way you are first, and then you'll start looking better, and you start falling in love with yourself. You'll become like, your sex appeal grows with it. All right, and then touch yourself all over, and your light touches, and back of your nails and different kinds of, be curious, create all kinds of different ways to touch yourself, and touch yourself all over, how you like to be touched. Some places like to be touched firmly, and some places like to be touched lightly. Some people like to be tickled, some places you like, and there's we read about it, so it's all in the books really. And then masturbate for pleasurable effect, which means you're not really trying to get anywhere. You're just touching yourself for the pleasure of touching yourself. And do it for as long as it's fun, and take lots of breaks. And explore your body. And the more you do that, the more you practice that, the more you will feel. And the last exercise is called connections, where you can connect different parts of your body to your genitals. Women can to the clitoris, and men to the penis. And they can like touch their lip or their nipple or their inner thigh or their vaginal opening, if you're a woman. And you rub both areas at the same time, like you're rubbing let's say your clitoris and your nipple at the same time. Then you have it feeling really good, and then you take your finger off your nipple and just keep rubbing on your clitoris. And keep the finger right hovering over the nipple, and see if there's any sensation there, any echo of a feeling. And then put your fingers back and rub them both together again. And then take your finger off your clitoris and just rub your nipple. And keep your finger close to your clitoris, and to see if there's any echo there, just from rubbing your nipple. And you may not feel very much at first. It may just feel a little tiny thing, and that's good. Whatever you feel is good. And if you don't feel it, just keep playing at it. It's and do it as long as it's fun. You have to. Rome isn't built in a day. You're not going to like turn on your whole body right away. And enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey. And the more practice you do, and then you can, once you have this turned on body, you can bring it to your partner and teach them. And most people have think of sex as intercourse, or people getting off at the same time. And that's really difficult to have a simultaneous orgasm. However, we don't want to stop doing anything you're doing already. We're not here to take anything away. We want to add on the specific techniques that we do, which is one person is the giver and one person is the receiver. So like I'm the giver to the woman, and I'm putting all my attention on her body and on her. Once she agrees, she has to agree first. And there's ways to seduce somebody, but I won't get into that right now. But once you have their agreement, then you put your attention on them, and then you touch for your own pleasure. So your hands are like sex organs. So when you're self-pleasuring, learn how to feel more with your hands. And it's all that we really are experts in manual stimulation. I'm not an expert in in intercourse or oral sex. I would go to somebody else for those lessons. But you can really get the best orgasms with your fingers because they're the most precise. We say like, would you want a brain surgeon going into your brain with her tongue, with his penis, or with his hands? And I think hands would be the option. And the same thing with the genitals. It's a great way to give and to feel the pleasure, because you can really have a lot of control there. So the specific techniques, how to control somebody's orgasm and how to peak them, which means you're stroking them as long as it feels good. As long as they're like going higher, you keep stroking. But as soon as you notice, or have the thought even that maybe that stroke, they didn't go up anymore, you have to take a break or change the stroke. And that brings them down deliberately. And then you can start again. So you want to take control of the orgasm like that. So.
Wow.
Then also, you have to learn how to communicate. I mean, sex is actually is a subset of communication. So find, before you start, find out what they like, find out, how they like to be touched, where they like to be touched, what's their favorite spots, what part of the body they like to be touched, where their erotic zones are. And then when you're like doing it to somebody, then you can ask them questions that they can answer with a yes or a no. So you want to make it simple for them. So they can just lie there. They're just lying there and feeling the pleasure. And so you say, would you like it lighter? Would you like it? And they say, yes, then you go lighter, a little bit lighter. You don't want to change too much, but it's usually good to start with a light stroke anyhow, especially on a woman. And then go a little bit lighter. And then you can say, would you like it lighter? So you keep asking like the same question until you get it to the exact lightness they like. And you can say, would you like it more to the left? Like, if they say yes, then you go a little bit to the left, and you keep going in increments, small increments, until you get to the exact spot. All they do is to say yes and no, and you don't want to ask questions, where they have to hedge their bet. So if you ask them a question like, "Does this feel good?" That's not a very good question, because they say no, then everybody's going to lose about that. If they say they have to lie and say yes, that feels good, then they're going to go down also. So just ask them like simple questions like, we like it higher, harder, would like it lighter, would you like it faster, would you like it slower? Questions like that. And the person receiving the pleasure, in order to train their partners how to touch them, the best way to do it is to give lots of positive feedback. So let them know that they feel good, their touch is really nice. If you want it lighter, so that's really, you always start with like something positive, and then you can give a request. Would you please do it a little lighter? And then they do a little bit lighter, still not light enough, but you got to reward them for going in the right direction. And you say, that's better, that's really good. And then you go back to step one again. Wow, this is really fun. You really listen well. When you rub it like about twice as light as that, So you get it exactly the way you want it. And once you train somebody, they'll know how to touch you. So you won't have to keep doing that every time. It may take more than one session again, but by communicating, and if you're both communicating together, he can or she can be asking, would you like it lighter? And the person can say, even lighter than that, that's really good. That's, so you can like get in sync with each other. A lot of people find it, and it's good to use that. They'll have the lights on so you can see what you're doing also.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love everything you said, and thank you for the valuable detail. It's very helpful. The thing that strikes me about what you said, Steve, is that it feels to me that the scenario you're explaining almost requires us to be in a loving relationship, though. Like, not that there's anything wrong with sports sex. I know a lot of people do it, or one-night stands, or whatever they may be. But to me, it feels like two things. That it requires energy. You can't be exhausted from a hard day of work and feeding the kids and running around like a lunatic, and then it's time to have sex and you're just too freaking tired. And number two, you have to really have the desire and the patience to want to take that time to slowly let your partner open up, experience, share that together. So, which is all beautiful, but it seems like you would have to have a relationship with the person you're, and I guess my traditional values, I'd like to have a relationship when I'm having sex. So is that required, do you think, to have that love?
I don't think it's required.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's, like we have done sessions now in the past year. We've done many sessions with people who I didn't know, and they have to trust the person. So you just talk, you don't just jump into bed right away. You get to know the person first to some extent. Now, I don't know why you want to, see if you like them, a little bit at least, but if you're horny and you want to, you can still do whatever you did before. Before you went to bed with people, perhaps somebody you didn't know that well, one night stand or something. But you can have a one night stand with somebody and be more deliberate about it. and you're not going to have any disease if you're using your hands. You're not going to get like any sexual diseases or any pregnancy out of it. So it's really easier actually.
Well,
And it's nice to do with somebody, with your partner, but you don't have to have a partner. And again, you can self-pleasure to the extent that you don't even want to do it with a partner. I mean, you can have so much fun with yourself.
Well, I definitely want to get into that in a second. We're just taking a moment to interrupt our amazing show today because you know what? I wanted to thank you. I want to thank you personally for leaving me a review on iTunes. If you haven't left a review yet, please consider to do so. Just quickly go on iTunes, scroll down my main page. Underneath the review that you're looking at, you will see a little link that says write a review. Just hit that link, type in how you feel, whatever comes from your heart, and just put in a made-up name if you want. You can just put in Happy Person 202, whatever you want if you want to be anonymous, and then hit the send button, and you're done. And that's just our way of having a relationship. And once again, thank you so very much. Now let's get back to the show. I love how you said you have to think of your hands as sex organs. I never thought of it like that before, but it makes me think of when you find a really good massage therapist. You can have a massage therapist who has all the credentials up the wazoo, all these different methods of training and experience. But if they don't have that certain feeling that their hand, and like we say when we do tarot readings and work with oracles, like James Wanless says, your hands have eyes, and you want to feel with your hands, and you want to. What I love what you're saying, and it's a big part of my show's message, is helping people learn how to live from all of their being, from their whole body, not just from our thinking, intellectual, analytical brain, but our feeling body, our emotional body, our spiritual body. So, and that's a big reason why I wanted you on the show. In addition to the other things I might be wanting for my own personal use, of course, but because, truly and I did another episode of this recently talking about our sexuality and our creativity as the center of our life force energy. And it's such a powerful center of our being. We all want more energy. We want more oomph. We want more juice. We want to feel powerful and sexual and confident and attractive and have that connection with another person and experience the divine and all these things that our sexualness can give us. So I love that a big part of your method is you're dealing with the mind, you're dealing with the mindset for sure, but you also deliver it with the manual aspect. You come through with the technique of literally how you do it, which is great.
And, and at first you're not going to be, the great expert. So, if you learn to play tennis, you're not going to be, I don't know who the great tennis players are these days, Serena Williams or somebody, that Japanese girl is pretty good too.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know.
Osaka, I think.
Yeah.
But, so, but it's good to, it's good to practice. The more you practice, the more you can forget about the technique and just create your own technique and just let your hands do the scene.
Yeah.
At first you're going to have to learn. It's a practice and you're learning, you educate yourself. It's not like you owe the person. The person's going to owe you after you're finished because you're getting pleasure from giving them the pleasure.
Well, and thanks for saying that, because I think that's where I was going with it felt a little bit in a wonderful way that what you're saying is was based on a loving relationship. Because if I love someone, the best thing in the world is seeing someone you love happy, whether it be a dog, a child, a person, right? We all want the people and things we love happy. So, of course, giving someone pleasure that you love dearly is very self-rewarding. But I guess maybe if it's not someone you love, it might be more of an ego thing, feeling like, oh, good, I have this ability to make them feel that way. I don't know.
It's probably partially ego, but I think we've got to feed our egos once in a while.
Yeah, true. Good point.
No, but I think it's a fun thing to give somebody pleasure, even if you're not in love with them. To give somebody pleasure is one of the funnest things you can do in life.
It's a beautiful gift, that's for sure.
just like if somebody goes to a restaurant and they don't, maybe the chef doesn't know the person, but they want to make the person enjoy the food, and they get pleasure. If people are enjoying the food, the chef will feel better about whether it's ego or or real or whatever. I don't think it really matters. It's a fun thing to do.
I love that, Steve. That is such a beautiful point. God bless you. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier on how anyone that reads your books can see you're very deep and philosophical man. And that's the ripple effect. It's like the pay someone's toll at the toll booth, the car behind you, because it's just a nice thing to do to brighten their day. I mean, that's a beautiful, beautiful sentiment. And on the note of pleasure, I thought it was interesting to learn that the female clitoris is the only organ in either human body.
Saying female clitoris is kind of redundant.
That's true. I guess I just wanted to be clear for people that only female has one, but I guess everybody knows that. Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm not talking to 2-year-olds, right? But I guess that's the little scientist in me trying to be very clear. But thank you. But that is the only organ that is actually solely designed for pleasure. And that's an incredible little thing to wrap your brain around, either in either sex, in either gender.
Maybe the male nipple. We're not sure about that.
You think? But the females have nipples too.
There's like a penis. It's kind of multitasking. Has different functions. Well, males don't have milk, but it's not really. I wouldn't compare it to the clitoris, though.
Yeah, well, the clitoris has 8,000 nerve endings, as opposed to the penis, which is like half of that.
I think the head of the clitoris is 8,000. And
that's an interesting point. You said the head of the clitoris, because what I also learned was that the clitoris actually has 18 distinct parts. It's part muscle, it's part nerve, it's part nerve tissue, muscle, and it has something else that it has, but it also it isn't just the external part in the woman's body. It goes up into the vagina, correct?
Yeah, it's the head of the clitoris is what shows, but then it has a body, and then it has roots that go, the nerve endings are attached and come in.
Yeah.
So, but the head of the, it's all about whatever person enjoys, and then they can be curious and find out about other parts of their body, the parts of their clitoris too, and play with those. I think the head of the clitoris is a great place to start, because that's where the most nerve endings are, and the easiest place to get to.
Yeah, and the most concentrated, and that's,
even though it's the easiest, it's still not always easy, especially even for women who want to self pleasure. Sometimes they don't even know where their clitoris is exactly. We've had more than one student like that.
Exactly. And that's something that I think we all need to educate ourselves on, our own body anatomy. I say that in one of my episodes, go in your room, lock the door, get undressed, get in front of a mirror and get a little hand mirror and look at yourself and see what's down there. We don't even know what we have. So, and that's the beginning of our sensuality right there. But I thought it was a very sad fact to learn when I was preparing for our episode today that 75% of women do not achieve orgasm with sexual intercourse, whereas opposed to 95% of men do. And now these are just estimates, but that's the research I found. That's pretty sad. So is the majority...
I don't think that's sad. I think that's the way it is. I mean, I guess you can see it as sad, but but you can also learn how to become more orgasmic with intercourse.
Oh, well, that's exactly the point. And that's what I meant by sad. That's how it had been, but it's not supposed to be, or nor have to be. That's just from, just not, well, first of all, not making it a priority. I mean, science has regarded women's orgasms as quote unquote non-evolutionary essential, as opposed to a man's, because if a man does not ejaculate, the sperm doesn't get to reach the egg to reproduce the species. Whereas if a woman does not have an orgasm, it's not the end of the world, so to speak, literally. So science has pretty much, just poo-pooed most of women's sexuality, not to mention...
But there's all guys. We're doing this with the scientists who create all this information.
And that was just to my point of why I said it was sad, because it doesn't mean it's normal or has to be by any means. It's just kind of how it's been up to this point. But thanks to Steve and Vera, they're going to change everything. And we're going to flip that number around and make it 75% of the women. But it seems like most women have orgasms by additional stuff to purely intercourse, meaning that manual stimulation, whether it be a hand, a mouth, a sex toy, something. Would you say that's correct in your experience? Most women are more orgasmic that way?
I would say I haven't met a woman who wasn't orgasmic.
Woohoo! When's your next workshop? That's fantastic. Woo!
I have a book that came out called Orgasm Matters, and it kind of takes off with that last book you showed, leaves off, and it goes into more detail. No, that's too bad. No, Orgasm Matters. I don't think you have that one.
I don't have that one yet.
It just came out.
That's wonderful. Okay, let's get into the very important. Now, we've talked a little bit about the manual, and that's all great, but let's get just a little bit. What would you have to say for those of us who just have that self-judgment about our bodies, have that shame, that programming? Even a lot of women are angry. They're angry at their men. They don't feel comfortable in their own bodies. So because we know a big part of being able to relax, open up, surrender, trust, all those beautiful feminine qualities that are required in order to really allow your partner to take control of your body and give you pleasure and help elicit an orgasm. How do we get there when we're stuck in our heads and our judgment? And does he think I look okay? Do I smell okay? Do I taste funny? Am I making a weird look on my face? Like, how do you help people get over that so they can get through it and feel pleasure?
Well, I mean, when they come to, somebody's coming to us, or they're already interested in the topic, so they already have that goal of wanting to do it. So it's not, I don't think it's a big step to start doing it. Just start. Again, take baby steps, do whatever it takes to start, and then, and continue and enjoy each improvement. Make it a game. So I'm feeling a little better about myself today. Again, use the mirror exercise. When you look in the mirror, pleasure yourself, and if you worry about how you smell, take a shower with some nice smelling shampoo and soap. Get some nice perfume. Whatever, do it. First, you have to fall in love with yourself, I think, before you can have some other person. If you're feeling like lousy about yourself, you got to really, start loving yourself more. And and I think if somebody's watching this show or is obviously interested already, so they're ready. Just taking the first step is what is all you have to do, and it becomes easier and easier. It's not like it's that difficult. So I wouldn't say like, and also know that a lot of this stuff that's going on in your head isn't true. Our thought, we have all kinds of thoughts, but they're all like, there's positive ones, there's negative ones, there's conflicting ones. Which one are you going to listen to? So just kind of enjoy, the banter that's going on there, because you can't really get rid of the noise. If you want to meditate, but even when you meditate, you're still going to have noise. So, just, I guess don't take yourself so seriously, lighten up and start enjoying yourself. So whatever you do, like, find how you can enjoy that the most. What can I do to make that more fun? So.
Great advice.
Like today, I wanted to make the place smell better, so I baked some apples with cinnamon. And it's a place that smells like wonderful right now. So I just breathe in and smell the apples.
Cinnamon is my favorite thing in the world, even more than chocolate, which says a lot. Question though, how much of it honestly has to do with the chemistry that you have with the particular person as far as your ability to feel pleasure and sensuality?
As far as like pleasuring somebody, the way we're doing it, I don't think the chemistry is the most important thing. It's, it's the desire to feel, and the desire to pleasure somebody and to be pleasured. And, with chemistry, that's great, but that can also get in the way. You may start having thoughts about, does he like me and all this, otherwise, you can just relax. And a lot about orgasm when you're being pleasured is about relaxing.
Yeah.
And kind of letting go and not holding the tension anymore.
Yeah.
So, and even if you have chemistry, after a while, the chemistry doesn't last forever anyhow. So if you become really skilled at giving somebody pleasure and skilled at being pleasured, you don't need chemistry, because the pleasure will become manifest because you're so good at it. And you can do it with anybody at any time. Not that you want to do it with anybody at any time, but you can or could. Some people say, well, I only want to have sex with, or I only want to be pleasured by somebody I have this chemistry with. Well, meanwhile, there's a lot of people out there maybe who you might be feeling really good with, but you're not relating with them because there's no chemistry. It's like waiting for the turn-on theory to show up. If you start doing it, deliberately, then the default of chemistry may turn up more likely than not. But if you're just waiting around for the chemistry or for the turn-on theory, probably not going to show up.
That's a great point, Steve, because I had learned somewhere along my travels that women need to feel love and connection and sexy to want to have sex, and men want to have sex in order to feel love, connection, intimacy, and chemistry. Would you say that that's right?
In your experience?
It sounds right. You said it. I haven't heard that before, but.
Yeah. But to your point, to all us women that maybe are too tired from a hard day's work, or the kids pulling at you, or whatever's going on, that you're just not in the mood to have sex, even though you are sexually attracted to your partner, or you should or really want to, but you're just not in the mood. Sometimes it's a matter of just kind of starting and kind of giving your body a chance to catch up with your mind, to even take over your mind, to let you start to feel your body, your sexuality again, whereas your mind has been running the show all day, right?
Yeah, and again, like, we think it's great, like, if the turn-on fairy shows up and you jump into each other's arms, but a lot of times people are tired or it's late at night and the kids are screaming. So it's really important to deliberately set up the time and space to have pleasure. And, so get a sitter, or make sure the kids are taken care of, or do it in the early morning when the kids are sleeping, but set up a time and a space for it, and do that. And the more you do that, then the default pleasure comes in. So be able to be more spontaneous. But you have to start somewhere. And once you start, you may not be in the mood, or even because it's deliberate, but once you start it feels like, hey, maybe I was in the mood. Because if, somebody starts touching you and wanting to pleasure you, it'll feel good. I promise.
I love that.
Yeah.
Plus, I think, in my experience with relationship, your sexual relationship with your partner is a lifestyle day-to-day thing. It's a moment-to-moment thing. I love how what you're saying is basically create sacred time, where you have that time for yourselves together intimately. But in addition, I would add to that it's also the little things throughout the everyday life, like maybe when he's walking by you in the kitchen and you tell him how great his butt looks in those pants, and you give him a wink or something. It's little things like that that are in your daily life that deposit emotional bank account deposits, right? Type thing that help the sexual relationship.
I mean, Vera, I've been like walking around. We live in Walnut Creek in California, and we've been walking around town for years. And there's like some bridges around, around the creeks and stuff. So we used to have like, or there's some fountains. So we have, like, when we pass a fountain, we'll either kiss or hug. We pass a bridge, we have to kiss there. So, it's like, it takes, you have to like, it just is automatic now.
You made a ritual.
Yeah, it's like a habit. It's creating good habits.
I love it. And hence, look at your amazing sex life. That proof that it works, I guess. Steve, tell us about one of your books, The Universe of Love, Poems of Yin and Yang. I'm interested in that because, as you know, my show is a lot about the duality and the polarity of the world. So tell us, just in particular, what a little synopsis of that book, Poems of Yin and Yang.
I think it's this one here.
So for those on YouTube, he's showing it right now. He's showing a picture of the book, and that's at Fit Amy TV on YouTube. Yep.
Anyhow, no, this is just poem. I write Vera a lot of, she's my muse. So I just write her poems all the time. And a lot, like, every birthday, every anniversary, every Valentine's Day, for sure. I give her like a nice card I get from this place. And then now that lately I've been past probably 15, 20 years, since we had a computer, I print out the poem and I'll put it on the card. So I had so many, so I put them in a book together, make a compilation.
Beautiful.
And I just finished the second book of love poems to her that I haven't published, but I have proof copies of it. Actually, it's called, it's right here somewhere. Here it is. Another one.
Okay. What's it say? If you,
then I, rhymes with love.
Oh yeah, that's on the list. And that's more love poems.
More love poems to Vera.
You see, everyone, I'll just say while Steve's getting his passage from the book, Steve is just such an amazing example of a really self-actualized masculine, in that if you can see him on the YouTube channel, he's a very manly guy, okay? He's a really manly man. But I mean, his beautiful sensitivity and his overwhelming love for his wife, Vera, is literally something that is palatable. It could just bring me to tears. I can feel it right through the screen. And truly, to any guys listening, I mean, I don't know if I speak for all women, but I'll speak for me that's really what women want and need. We all want a whole person. We want to be a whole person, and we want a whole person. Steve is a great example of an embodiment of the masculine feminine duality at the same time, because obviously he's very tapped in with his sensitivity. He's very tapped in to his love and his caring and his tenderness with Vera, and his nurturing of her, as he's mentioning, taking care of her now that she has Alzheimer's, and his devotion to her. And the masculine is not, there's this term right now that's trendy, at least now in 2001, that, the toxic masculine. And I'm a big proponent of the masculine is not bad. It's part of who we all are. It can be toxic if it's an extreme or excess, but the true masculine is not that. The true masculine is all these other things, which, Steve, you do a beautiful job of exemplifying to people. So thank you for who you are in the world.
Yeah, I like my sports.
Yeah, there you go. You like your sports. I can tell. That's great. That's great.
I even boxed in college.
Yeah, I can tell you're some kind of athlete. That's for sure. Well, Vera is a lucky, lucky woman. So this has just been amazing, Steve. There's just so many things we could go into, but I'm going to respect your time. So can you tell us, again, is there, just in a synopsis of your 40 years of work, if there's anything that has really surprised you in your work with people, or that is a constant theme that comes up with you have to help people address that we can share with the audience, or any last words that I feel are really important that you want people to know?
Well, I think my original teacher was Vic Baranco. He told me the only thing you really have to know is that women are angry and men are dumb.
Okay.
In relationships.
Can you kind of expand on that? Like, as in dumb, as in ignorant, and angry as in what? Repressed? Or what
Yeah,
does
kind
that
of
mean?
like, covert anger. They're pissed because, men are like the top sex, supposedly, according to men. And everybody's, it's changing now, but, women are still pissed about it because women are actually functionally superior to men. And, but they're like, hey, it's a boy, and then the girl, hey, it's a girl. And the Chinese were killing off the girls, it's like, so women are not, people get angry because they think they have rights. And so people think they have the right to be, treated equally. And when you're not treated equally, you get pissed off.
So a righteous anger.
So it's righteous, but it's also fabricated. Because, they don't have to be angry. And men are dumb because men are allowed into the club. So men have to question, why can't I get in the club, So they're just like, la la la. I guess I am the best, I'm the superior sex or whatever. So they're dumb for that reason. They're not, and a lot of women think guys are mean and stuff, and most guys are actually not being mean, they're just being dumb. So to know that is good. I think it's good for women to know that the guy really wasn't doing that deliberately. He just doesn't know better. And you can train a guy to be hip him to be a little smarter and treat you better.
Well, I think that's a good point. A lot of women take things personally and they just assume the guy should know better or should know what they're feeling, thinking, needing. And because, they just think that they should think like them. And that's not always true, because in my experience, men, certainly if they care about you, they want you to be happy. And they're not going to intentionally do things that don't make you happy, but they're not mind readers, and we have to train each other. Women feel the same way, like, what's that book, The 5 Love Languages, by the author? I can't think of it at the moment. Us just learning about our partner and what is it that is important to them? What are their values? What makes them feel loved? How can I show them I love them in their language? And do it and put your money where your mouth is, right? You say you love each other. Well, so.
Yeah, up your game. Read about it. It's not just my books, but all kinds of books out there now. When we started 40 years ago, there weren't too many books, and they were pretty simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Steve, how can people find out more about your work? Where can they find your books? Tell us about your social media and anything new you're working on now.
I'm on Facebook. My name's under my name, and I have a website, which is extendedmassiveorgasm.com, or orgasmmatters.com. Both go to the same place. So that's my basic way to reach me, through the website, I guess.
Okay.
You can see all my books are there, our videos available there. I think you set up a session or a phone session. With COVID, we haven't been doing anything for over a year now. So.
And your latest book?
Well, let's see, where is that?
It's already published. I think he's got 14, everybody. There it is. Orgasm Matters. Oh, that's beautiful.
And Orbit.
Orbit. Wow.
Orbit, Looking for Libido. That's a novel.
Looking for Libido. Oh my God. You are just cranking out the material.
It's a fun story. And I also have Extended Massive Orgasm, the novel, which is kind of
How to have extended massive orgasms in orbit.
it's a novel. This
That's
is
the next
another,
book.
this is not,
Another
yeah.
one. Wow.
You have almost as many books as you have orgasms. That would be quite a feat. Well, Steve, this has been amazing. I hope it's been helpful to our audience. I know it's been super helpful and inspiring to me. I think I need a shower right now, personally. I'm a little hot and bothered, but this has been just wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on Awakening Aphrodite.
Well, it's been my pleasure. So thank you. See,
Okay, Steve.
I get,
Thank you so
you
much.
get pleasure by giving pleasure.
You got it. I agreed. Yeah, we got to keep that law of receptivity and get that cycle going round and round. Giving and receiving is two sides of the same coin. Okay, everyone. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show and you know what to do. If it helped you and you think it can help others, please share it and rate and review. See you next time, everyone. Bye-bye. Would you like to support my mission to help empower people all over the world to be all of who they truly are? If so, please subscribe to the show. Leave a review on iTunes and share it with a friend. And if you're looking to take immediate action to align your energy and optimize your health, visit amyfournier.com. Thanks for listening to Awakening Aphrodite. Let's awaken her together in you. I'm your hostess, Amy Fournier, and I already can't wait to be with you again and for you to hear what I have planned for the next show.
Thanks for listening to Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. To learn more about Amy, check out her website, amyfournier.com. That's AMYFOURNIER.com. You can also check out Amy's live and on-demand virtual fitness and yoga classes, and sign up for her newsletter to receive a free mini ebook of 3 of her top tips for making holistic health a lifestyle. Again, that's amyfournier.com. and get your ebook sent to your email immediately. Connect with Amy on the daily on Instagram at FitAmyTV, FITAMYTV, and watch many of the podcast episodes and subtopic clips on her YouTube channel, which is also FitAmyTV. Enjoy, and we'll see you next time on Awakening Aphrodite.